What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Seed's animated short film, Love, Death, and Constructs. See what they're doing with the name there, playing off of Love, Death, and Robots? I'm very excited to see what we're getting into here, because based on what I know about Seed's backstory, what we see in the thumbnail here, and just a lot of the time how these shorts go, this is almost certainly getting into the backstory of Seed, potentially even how Seed and Seed Sr. met, and how Seed Sr. took her in, all that kind of stuff, leading up to where she is today. But regardless, I'm excited to see how exactly they go about that, so feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra, and let's get into this. Alright, looks like we're starting in, if not Hollow Zero, definitely a Hollow. Young Seed, picking a flower in the middle of the destruction. Destruction.
Chaos.
Ooh,
Death.
people turning to ethereals, yeah.
I had always thought humans had been left with nothing in the wake of this devastation.
Oh. Was that a tear, a raindrop?
I saw her.
Wow, okay, so
Flower
Seed is...
looming amidst the ruins.
Seed inspired Senior. Okay. They did something for each other, yeah. A tear.
Warning, extremely high-risk target initiating.
Oh? High-risk target.
Trapped for half a month with barely any signs of corruption. It's practically a miracle.
That is insane.
However,
Is there something wrong, Doctor?
there are serious flaws in how she perceives and comprehends life. I'm not sure
Okay.
what she's been through, but I must remind you, she has no heart.
Okay. That answers everything about a line from the version trailer.
From now on, this will be your home.
Senior is told she has no heart, and he strives to find it. Okay.
No, stop. Why are you eating the flowers?
It looks so fragile. I can't eat it?
You want to take in this orphan,
Aw.
but what can you do for her?
Oh? Something's wrong with Senior as well? Oh.
Are you concerned about me? I'll be fine.
I'm already fucking tearing up.
You've grown another 3 centimeters. This one's different from our dolls at home. Try touching it.
Aw.
I shall teach her how to have a heart.
Yeah.
I will plant a seed in her heart.
Oh, a seed.
I will carefully nurture this flower from the ruins.
Okay. Okay, so much more meaning there.
How about we make a promise?
A promise?
As you know, I've been falling asleep lately.
Okay.
You must learn to take care of yourself at such times. Since you like the cockpit, why don't you pilot me
Orpheus and Trigger.
and help others when that happens?
You mean I'll be seed?
Who is
More or
that?
less. You're talented. I know you can handle it.
We love a supportive father. Ooh! Combat animation? Yo! That is a bit much for that ethereal, Jesus Christ. Ooh, some... Okay. Some 3D animation from the looks of it. I like the look of it, though. A terrified girl. Oh, lost her mother. What will you do, Seed? How will you answer this?
You tried to dismantle the self-defense system behind our backs?
Oh?
Only a matter of time before the logic core completely fails. Don't you understand? It's suicide, Seed! Did that even cross your mind?
I have no regrets.
Huh.
I've always prioritized following orders. But just this once, I wanted to prove that I do have a heart.
Yeah.
And
Not
so
just
she-
her, it's both of them.
Eradication mode engaged. Locking onto high-risk target.
He almost killed her, Jesus Christ. Breaking through his own programming to protect her. Jesus. The armor breaks away. And Seed reaches out. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Whew.
Seed? 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 Are you feeling sleepy again? You keep conking out at weird moments these days.
He's doing them very
Look at
well.
this flower. It looks so fragile, but it's growing. I don't get it. Will I finally understand once I grow taller? But I don't want to grow any taller.
Oh.
It'll get really cramped inside the cockpit. Seed? Are you asleep again?
Yeah, I think he is.
Good night, Seed.
I have no regrets. It's just a pity that I won't get to see her blossom. I planted some seeds in the ruins where I first met her.
Oh,
I wonder if they've grown into a field of flowers now.
I bet they have.
Good night, Flora.
Flora. Flora. As always with these animated shorts, they hit in the feels. Especially this one. I don't know why. This one truly hit me. I think it's because I really do appreciate these kinds of stories of people and things that don't have a heart finding it. Humanity where there isn't, or shouldn't be. That is what this story is. Seed, both Flora and Senior, as I'm going to refer to them I think now, when I'm referring to one specifically, both of them are in one way or another believed to not have a heart. And Senior yearns to prove that wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through this chronologically. We begin here in, I believe, Hollow Zero, because as far as I recall, that is where Senior found Flora. And we begin with Flora picking a flower, evidently to eat it, as we learn later. There is something abnormal about her, in more ways than one. But then we immediately transition to Senior, who walks through this destruction and chaos. He is a machine designed for combat, for defense, for warfare. He walks through the destroyed streets of Hollow Zero, people dead and being corrupted all around. Signs that this Hollow has been active for some time, and it's here with this visual and these words of destruction and chaos and death that we learn that Senior thought humans had been left with nothing in the wake of this devastation. In the fall of the old capital, he thought that humanity lost everything. And it's notable, I find, that this is paired with specifically the visual of presumably a parent cradling their child, both dead. The caretakers and the next generation both were lost. No one escaped this. But it's in all of this destruction and devastation that life is found. Surrounded by death, there is still life, and Seed finds it. Senior finds it. This is twofold. For one is the flower that Flora found. Growing in an impossible place, on one simple level, is growing out of the concrete of the city. A classic symbol of life persevering through hardship. But on top of that, it is within a hollow, presumably Hollow Zero at that. But at the same time, there is Flora herself. It may seem that humanity lost everything, but there is still those humans who survived, who endured, who lived, who continue to live. And this is backed up by what Seed says. He was saying he thought that everything was lost. He thought that humanity was devastated with no chance of recovery. But then he saw her. He was proven wrong by her. Her mere existence, her being alive, not corrupted, walking, and crying, proves him wrong. And he describes her as a flower blooming amidst the ruins. It's very interesting to me. Her being alive is a sign that humanity can and will bloom again. And it's here as she turns to look at Senior, we see that she is crying. One of her tears is what dropped onto the flower. And I think that is deeply important. For their first moment together to be Flora expressing emotion, sadness, that is important. But then we get to what is honestly one of the most interesting pieces of this from a lore standpoint, where most of this is honestly, for me, much more emotion and character driven. This piece is much more of a lore thing, but I find it very interesting regardless. What about Flora is a high-risk target? Is there something actually about her that is dangerous? Is something about why she has been able to survive in a hollow for like a month or whatever it is? We'll get to the line in a moment. Is there something tied to that, or just by coincidence, that makes her dangerous? Or is Seed's self-defense programming merely designed in a way to eliminate targets? In this moment, does Seed just have a set of parameters that view anything mobile and alive in a hollow as a threat? And because it cannot identify her as any kind of ethereal, it views her as a higher risk threat. Depending on who designed Seed, that I think is entirely a possibility. If Seed was designed purely as a machine to destroy ethereals, or just as a tool of war in general, I could see that. But of course, it could also be that there is something different and dangerous about Flora. And though we don't get the conclusion to that initial interaction until the later part of the short, it sets that up. It sets up that something is off. Something is different. And if we're to go by the interpretation that something about Flora is dangerous, this is immediately following up on that. We jump to once she has been rescued, and we learn a little bit more info. Trapped for half a month with barely any signs of corruption. It's practically a miracle. The chances of this are unheard of. Her aptitude for ether must be so incredibly high, while also being lucky. It continues to plant that seed, pun not intended, of there being something strange and different and off about Flora. And we follow this up by the doctor claiming something is wrong. There are serious flaws in how she perceives and comprehends life, is what the doctor says. I'm not sure what she's been through, but I must remind you, she has no heart. This speaks to me in a variety of ways. One of the most simple and obvious is just trauma. She was traumatized to such a fundamental degree that the way she perceives life fundamentally shifted, and since then is solidified into however she views the world. And that is why she lacks a heart. Alternatively, or perhaps simultaneously, likely simultaneously, because there's no way she isn't traumatized, the other possibility is that this is saying that in some way, Flora is neurodivergent. That is a possibility that occurs to me, because I know it's a common thing for certain kinds of neurodivergent people who don't necessarily express their emotions well, or that have abnormal perceptions of life or whatever, can be seen by others as lacking a heart, lacking emotions, lacking whatever. So that very well may be what's going on here as well. But regardless of why exactly she lacks a heart, according to the doctor, the fact that she supposedly doesn't, according to others, is almost certainly why Senior becomes so attached to her. Beyond just his revelation upon seeing her, and as we see later, the choice he makes to save her, beyond just that. In this way, it is someone he can relate to, can empathize with, perhaps more than anyone else. As a machine, as a constructed person, he may have emotions, he may have a personality, he may have intelligence, and those might be accepted by others, but given the kind of robot he is, he almost certainly was designed as a tool of combat and defense and war first, and a person second. That is incredibly likely. And so, much like how the doctor says Flora has no heart, just because she views the world and life differently, he almost certainly can resonate with that and think of plenty of times where people have misinterpreted him, misunderstood him, because they do not understand the way he sees the world. Of course, in this, he is shown to be much more adjusted than Flora, but that entirely is probably just because Flora just spent half a month isolated and traumatized and surviving with no other priority, where Seed has been around people. And so I think that is a big part of the reason why that he chooses to not just save her, but to adopt her. Though for some people, a machine adopting a child is ridiculous and not a suitable circumstance for a child to grow up in, it doesn't matter to him. He saved this girl, he resonates with this girl, and so, if nobody else immediately can or will, he will take care of her. And so he brings her home, says this will be your home. And I find it interesting that already there are plants around. It makes me think that already Senior had an interest in life, in plants, despite being a machine, something that is not truly alive by certain standards. He already, prior to taking in Flora, had this interest in life, in growth, in caretaking. And then as we begin to sort of montage through a few moments of them together, we see this moment where Flora tries to eat one of the plants and Seed has to stop her, which in many ways is just showing that she hasn't adjusted to conventional life. You don't just randomly eat plants. And it's also a way to show Senior teaching her these things. And as he brushes her hair, which is incredibly adorable for so many reasons, the amount of delicacy he's able to have holding this tiny brush and her hair is just great. I love it. But as he's asking, why are you eating the flowers? He wants to understand. He's not just stopping her from doing things and not explaining why. He wants to know her reasoning. And her answer is one that is abnormal, that requires some work to figure out how she could reason out that it's okay to eat or whatever. Her only reasoning is, it looks so fragile, why can't I eat it? Something in her mind about fragility and consumption are sort of tied or something, or maybe she's just not expressing her full thought process, but there's something there of that's how she connects the two. We don't get a concrete answer from Senior about why she can't, or an explanation of her reasoning or anything like that beyond that, but it is still just showing the sort of growing pains of a abnormal child and a caretaker who is sort of figuring out how to go about it. And from here, we overhear a conversation between presumably the doctor or just someone else and Senior about Flora. The doctor questions, you want to take in this orphan? Asking that as if it's sort of unbelievable or strange. With the follow-up question, what can you do for her? The reason for the question is judgment. This woman looks to this machine designed for combat and asks, how can you take care of a young girl? Just as she does not see the possibility or existence of Flora having a heart, she cannot see that there is more to Seed than just what he was designed for. She cannot see his heart either, despite visually it being on full display in front of us. Not only is he immediately making sure that Flora is all right, making sure that she didn't get injured when she fell a moment ago, but moments prior he was reading with her, and surrounding him are plants, ones that we know he had prior to her. He has been a caretaker of sorts for who knows how long. And sure, people are very different than plants, but it is all just signs that this doctor and so many other people in all likelihood are seemingly incapable of seeing what is Seed. What is Seed Senior as a person, who he is, what his heart is. And so in a way, the fact that she asks this question and cannot see this about him, and the fact that he is someone on the opposite side of that question, and he's used to that kind of thing in all likelihood, he, in that sense, is the perfect person to take care of Flora. He can help her navigate the fact that so many people will not understand her. But though I can intuit that much about it just from the nature of the characters so far, we do not hear concretely Senior's answer, as it's now that we introduce the concept of him malfunctioning, him falling asleep. We do not have the answer as to why yet, but the concept is introduced here. And for now, it seems to take more of a form of him just spacing out suddenly, but he is able to be snapped out of it by a touch, by Flora making contact with him. That seems to snap him out of it, and then he's immediately back to normal for now. He asks Flora, are you concerned about me? And he reassures her, I'll be fine. No need to worry about me. I'm here to take care of you, not the other way around. And as we continue, we have various classic things of a parent watching their child grow up, taking care of them, that kind of thing. They're growing taller, introducing Flora to animals, politely and carefully explaining how they're not just a doll. In a way, this is, in a very stable and safe manner, introducing Flora to other living things. If that is one of her big abnormalities, quote unquote, that she has some strange understanding of life, seemingly tied to this idea of fragility, having her interact with animals and people will help her, presumably. or at the very least will help her to develop in her own way some understanding of life more. And we have essentially this explicitly stated in the line, I shall teach her how to have a heart. Even if she does not have one now, or if that heart just cannot be seen yet, I will teach her how to express herself, how to show that heart that she has or will have to others. And I find it very interesting how immediately after that line, sort of backing up the idea that Senior believes she already has one, it just is not seen by others, is the fact that the immediate next line isn't anything about once she has a heart, it's just him saying, I will plant a seed in her heart, something that already exists. I will carefully nurture this flower from the ruins. He may have described her as a blooming flower initially, but he will nurture her to make sure that she comes to full bloom. And as we continue, we see another sign of him deteriorating. Him sleeping more at random unexpected moments. Seemingly he was reading her a story, and seemingly in response to realizing that he's deteriorating, he offers to make a promise with Flora, and he honestly broaches the subject. As you know, I've been falling asleep lately. Even if he doesn't say why it's happening, he's honest about the fact that it is happening. And it's here where, for the first time, we see Flora enter the cockpit. And the obvious reason for her entering the cockpit now is that you must learn to take care of yourself at such times. I have taken care of you, I have raised you, I have nurtured you, and I will continue to do so as much as I can, whenever I can. But I won't always be able to. There will come a time when I am not there to help you. Though in a literal sense it is very different, it is thematically and emotionally essentially the same as the fundamental fact that a child must always learn to take care of themselves because their parents will not always be there for them. Because the child, outside of extenuating circumstances, will outlive their parents. Those who take care of us and raise us will not always be there. Not because they don't love us, but because they just can't. And so in this case, rather than just acting like everything is fine and that nothing bad will ever happen, and inevitably just leaving Seed abandoned almost once he is fully gone, he tries to prepare her for that time. And it's here that we have the beginning of the dynamic that we see in the present day of Zenless. When he's asleep, when he falls asleep, Flora can pilot him and help others in the process. And in this way, she will always be safe when with him. He will always be there to protect her. Even when he's asleep, even when he's gone, she can take shelter in his presence. From there, we jump to a scenario in a hollow, perhaps the first time that Seed, as a unit, has gone out and worked together. But it's in this moment, this scenario, where we have something that is fundamentally important to Seed as a character. I don't know if I can perfectly put into words why. Throughout this entire short, there are these moments of parent and child. Whether it's Senior taking in Flora and protecting her and nurturing her, or the dead parent and child in an alley, or the child saved by Seed crying over their dead mother. This image, the symbol, appears in these different ways. But there are definitely at least a few things in this moment of Flora witnessing this child losing a parent. I think there's a couple things that I can put into words, even if it's not the full picture. One ties back to this entire idea of her having this abnormal view of life and her not having a heart. We spend a long moment watching as this child cries and mourns the loss of a parent. And it's not just us, it is Senior and Flora watching this. And her reaction is to put her hand onto one of Senior's fingers, essentially holding his hand, to stare and watch. No obvious emotion on her face, but her eyes do quiver slightly. And not harshly, but to very slightly grab at her own little dress. One obvious and basic interpretation is that she is sad for this child. But I don't think that's quite right, or at the very least not the full picture. We've been told that she does not view life normally, and this reaction isn't a big one, or at least not expressed as that. Though I very well may just be talking out of my ass with this one. One possibility I could see is Flora thinking back to her own family. Presumably dead, she was called an orphan and she was found alone in a hollow. Whether she knows what happened to them or not, she has lost her parents. Her original parents, at least. Does she see herself in this child? Or, perhaps, is it something a lot more messy? Does she not see herself in this child? Does she not find herself remembering the same feelings, empathizing with the same feeling? Can she not remember mourning her parents in the same way this child did? Did she not have the normal reaction? And if so, does that concern her? Does that worry her? Does the thought occur to her, oh, I'm not normal? Does she become aware of that fact now? I think it's a possibility. I won't say it for certain, but I think it's a possibility. And just for the record, for anybody who is listening to this in the background rather than watching it, I've been putting heavy air quotes onto every time I say normal and abnormal. Just thought I'd clear that up for anybody who wasn't paying attention. But at the same time, there's an entire other thought process and possibility that could be going through her head right now, perhaps at the same time or one after the other. She knows that Senior has been going to sleep more, and though she may or may not have processed or realized it, the possibility of him falling asleep and never waking up does exist. And so, watching a child who has lost their mother, does this force her to process the fact my parent will be gone soon, or could be? Does she now, in this moment, fear that loss? Once again, possible. But I will not say specifically which one of these she is feeling, because it could be none, it could be all, it could be something entirely different. But it's from here that we transition back to Senior's perspective fully. Flora does not hear these parts, and this is much more focused on the details of what's going on with Senior. The doctor almost incredulously asks, "You tried to dismantle the self-defense system behind our backs. It's only a matter of time before the logic core completely fails. By attempting to dismantle your own self-defense system, you are destroying yourself." She calls it suicide, and at this point we do not know why he did it or what that means. But it is clear he has changed or removed a piece of himself for some reason, and that is leading to the seemingly inevitable risk of his entire being falling apart. And it's here where I'd like to acknowledge, I've been talking about the Doctor and her perspective of Senior and Flora in very negative terms. I've been talking about her as if she just can't see the people behind the machine and the heartless girl. But it's in a moment like this where I'd like to balance that by acknowledging almost certainly the reason she is upset here is not just because Seed did something reckless that can fuck with other people's lives, but the fact that she says it's suicide, implying that her focus is on the loss of being and life of Seed, leads me to think that regardless of how she views him, she still thinks of him as a person. She may not see all of him, but that does not mean she does not see him, if that makes sense. But to all her yelling and berating, his answer is just, "I have no regrets." Even if it is the death of him, he is not concerned, or at the very least does not regret the choice. And it's here that we learn a little bit more of Seed, of Senior. He's always prioritized following orders, as he was designed, presumably. But just this once, I wanted to prove that I do have a heart, and so does she. Rescuing and taking in and nurturing Flora and attempting to prove she has a heart was as much for himself as for her. For his entire existence, for his entire life, he has been a tool, a machine. A heart is not necessary for such a thing. And yet, in discovering the hope for humanity that for him was Flora, it has led to him recognizing that he has a heart as well and wants it to be seen. He is more than the machine that they built. And so he makes his own choice. To get way too poetic about it, yes, it is suicide. His logic core will fail eventually. But to die is to have lived. In consigning himself to a form of death, in making that choice for a purpose, to prove something, that alone proves he has a heart, to me at least. To remove this from him being a machine even, quite literally in this moment, he was so overcome by emotion and feeling that the logical side of his brain failed, was stopped, was overcome. He made a choice out of emotion and hope, not out of logic and rationality. And it's here that we return to their first meeting. We see what exactly happened. We still don't know why Flora was such a high-risk target, or still is, but that logical side of his brain, the self-defense code, tries to take over, tries to do as it is designed. And it's here that we get this visual of the seed within the seed. If he is just a machine, shouldn't him and his programming be one? Shouldn't that just be one cohesive whole? Why then is there this heart watching what the code makes him do? And so we see something fundamentally impossible for just a simple machine. We see the emotion, the person, the heart of Seed fight against and overcome the programming, the constraints. And it's here that everything breaks away. The mechanical body is not what matters. The programming, the machinery, that is not the heart, the soul behind it all. It is not the machine that reaches out to save Flora. It is the heart, the soul, the person. To use the same language that Senior has been using about Flora, it is witnessing Flora here and this act that makes Senior bloom. And so it's here that after witnessing this, the blooming of Senior, thanks to just the existence of Flora, that led him to nurture her so that she could bloom. That is what leads us to this moment. As he falls asleep, perhaps for the last time, we see that even if Flora is not perfect, not normal. He has succeeded. She asks if he's feeling sleepy again. We see she's smiling, she's happy, she's carrying a plant, perhaps one that she has been taking care of. And it's here that we have this idea of the flower being fragile coming up again. And I feel like that's the piece that I'm missing the most out of this, is what the meaning of fragility to Flora is. Because before, she looked at the flowers and thought them fragile and therefore wanted to eat them or thought that she should. But now she holds up the flower happily and says it looks fragile, but it is growing. Something about her outlook has shifted, and she admits she doesn't get it. She doesn't fully understand. She still sees it as just a fragile plant, but she's come to understand that she can't just eat it. It is something that is growing, something that should be given the time to bloom. But she asks, will I finally understand once I grow taller? Is it something I just don't understand yet? She acknowledges the possibility of her perspective changing, acknowledges the possibility of other perspectives. But then from there, we have almost sort of a tragic line when you really look at it of, but I don't want to grow taller. It'll get really cramped inside the cockpit. It's this wish for things to stay the way they are, a wish to still spend time with Senior, this moment of happiness she wants preserved. But that is not how things are. Things will change. Things have changed. And it's from here that we almost have an addendum, a slight addition to Senior's previous statement. He has no regrets, that has not changed. But it is a pity that I won't get to see her blossom. I have nurtured her, guided her, so that she may blossom, so that she can take care of herself, so that she will bloom, so that someday others may see her heart. And he regrets none of that. He is just sad that he will not see the end result, that he will not see her flourish, at least not to her full potential. It will happen thanks to him. He just wishes he could have seen it. And as an ending note, he seemingly tangents off to this other thing, but is incredibly potent and pertinent. I planted some seeds in the ruins where I first met her. Inside a hollow, inside ruins of a city. What should be the most inhospitable land possible. But he wonders if they've grown into a field of flowers now. Another seed he has planted that he will never see if they have bloomed. He can only hope they will. No matter how harsh the environment or unlikely it is. How seemingly impossible or non-existent the chance. Whether it's those flowers in the hollow or Flora's heart, he wish he could have seen them flourish. It's incredibly touching and tragic. It's very bittersweet. There really is no missed beats in this one, I think. I already enjoyed certain aspects of Seed's character, but this makes me already love them. They are incredible. It makes me truly curious if Senior will wake up, if he will be able to see the person that Flora has become, if he will be able to see that field of flowers he planted, or will he have to be satisfied with how things were and how things were going when he went to sleep? Will Flora have to come to terms with the fact that Senior won't wake up again? That even if she becomes stronger, he won't come back. That's something for us to find out. But before I finish off, though that is all I really want to say about the more emotional thematic elements, there are a few sort of plot lore details that I want to touch on as possible things going forward, but I didn't want to interrupt everything else. Mainly speaking, there are two things. One is the question of what is up with Flora. Is she actually dangerous? Is there something actually wrong with her? And if so, what? How did she survive for half a month with basically no corruption? The only hint towards whatever may be the case there I can think of is based on something we see most obviously in this shot. Look at her outfit. Is that the kind of outfit you'd expect a child to be wearing? It's very tattered and banged up, but we can see, especially on the sleeve and such, this much more looks to me like some kind of official uniform or outfit, potentially in the direction of specialized hospital garb, perhaps? Or if we're to be more unfortunately realistic, though tragic, she would be far from the first character we've gotten who was used for human and child experimentation. Yuzuha, Haramasa, we've had these before. Is the reason she's able to survive this long and that she's viewed as a high-risk target by the self-defense system because something was done to her before the fall of the old capital? I think that's very possible. I don't know if they'd want to sort of retread that ground so close to Yuzuha's story, but I think it's very possible. It's also possible that this is an outfit of similar design to other things we've seen. It does sort of evoke something in my brain, but I can't quite place it. But that's sort of the idea that comes to mind just looking at her outfit here. The other key thing I want to acknowledge is in relation to this shot. We watch as Senior pulls something out of his forehead and tosses it aside. Whether this is literally him physically removing a part of his programming, or if it's more just representative of the fact that he is bypassing and going against his programming, that is still nonetheless a core piece of essentially an army robot, quite possibly a piece of Senior's programming. Potentially the most dangerous parts of it have been cast aside in a hollow. The likelihood of it surviving long without being corrupted or destroyed is not very high, but it's possible. And it's equally possible that someone found it and took it at a later point. It may be possible that something with that is done later, that this is a setup for a future payoff. That may be grasping at straws, but I think it's possible. It could be possible that that is used for a future plot point where someone tries to either recreate a version of Senior or repair Senior, whether that is for the sake of returning him back as a person, creating a copy that either won't die like the previous one, or will follow orders better, potentially. Or it could just be someone ends up using this bit of like self-defense programming to create very deadly machines of their own that do not resemble Senior in any real way. It's just off of some of his programming. I don't know. Just a possibility that I see as possible and thought I'd mention. But with that, I don't think I really have too much more to say. I might have missed a thing or two, but feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including Desaize and Pokelove101 at the normal tier, and Kondo Nano at the cool person tier. Very much appreciate all your support, as always, especially through my sort of inconsistent uploading of late, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.